Time. Well, good morning. We're so happy to have you. This hearing is going to be forward-looking and informative and interesting, and I'm pleased you're here. The Subcommittee on the Interior today will be examining the concession program at the National Park Service. As we approach next year's 100th anniversary of the National Park Service, we are in an ideal position to look at how this agency, which is custodian of our greatest natural resources, is functioning. Stephen Mather, the first director of the National Park Service, once said, "Scenery is a hollow enjoyment in the tourist who sets out in the morning after an indigestible breakfast and a fitful night's sleep on an impossible bed." That sounds like that statement was made after personal experience. Director Mather's sentiment, though, is spot on. In order for the vast majority of Americans to enjoy these majestic attractions that belong to them, they need food and lodging and other amenities. The Park Service has a long history of working with private companies to make sure that visitors receive the concession services they need. In fact, concessionaires have provided these services and promoted the park since Yellowstone National Park in my home state of Wyoming was designated the nation's first national park back in 1872. Oddly, though, in our parks, visitation is stagnating. National park attendance has not significantly increased over the last 25 years. This is nationwide rather than park-by-park basis. Despite a national population increase of over 30%, a spike in international visitors, and the addition of dozens of new park units. Currently, the typical park visitor is a baby boomer. Millennials and younger visitors are not coming to the parks in the numbers that we expected. Much of this can be traced to the increase in competition from other tourism opportunities and the Park Service's failure, perhaps, to keep up with the changing tastes of new generations. Concessionaires can serve a pivotal role in reversing this. Our national parks and their concessionaires must keep up with changing times. Younger visitors and contemporary families want access to tech amenities such as internet access and Wi-Fi. They want comfortable and modern places to stay. Concessionaires want to provide these services, and we, both in Congress and at the National Park Service, need to make sure that they're able to offer these things. More visitors using more services results in more money for concessionaires and more money for the National Park Service. Today, we'll be receiving testimony from 3 concessionaires about ways that we can update and modernize the park visiting experience. In addition to these witnesses present, we also have received written testimony from half a dozen other concessionaires representing park operations from all over the country. Now, the issues that were brought up include, first of all, the complexity of the Park Service bid applications. For example, the recently considered Denali National Park prospectus was 1,629 pages long. I mean, that's how long legislation is around here that affects 20% of our economy, that is just sweepingly game-changing. One small single-park concession company spent over 2,500 company management hours and more than $90,000 preparing their application. Expanding the operating season is another issue that was identified. In some cases, lodging, such as campgrounds, is very popular at certain parks and actually sells out. Though these parks are open year-round, their concessions operations are seasonal. Grand Canyon National Park, for example, is affected by this circumstance. Another is a lack of a rating system. The Park Service does not employ any way in which to recognize excellence among its concessionaires. California, for instance, uses an awards bonus point system in state park bid submittals for achieving extraordinary ratings 3 years in a row, perhaps a good model for us to look at. There are many other ways we can modernize the national park concession system, and I hope we can talk about many of these today. I very much look forward to the hearing, and I want to hear suggestions on your ideas for improving National Park Service concession services and visitor experiences. We're very